Not too much going on over here, Bob. I did register for CFC on Sunday,
Oh, good.
so so that'll be coming up, I believe, around July 4th time. Yep, so that'll be fun here in Richmond.
Yeah, yeah, they really lay their lives down for that.
Hmm.
You know, I've been praying about it all year, and
Hmm.
they get everything together. And so, did they get insurance? I know that was an issue getting the
Yep,
insurance.
so update on the insurance. They got all the insurance that they needed, and they got it at a lower price. So,
Great.
yep.
Yeah, that happened at the fellowship. We had, fellowship has insurance for, the building and liability for, if somebody sues
Hmm.
the board and all that kind of stuff. So it was going to be raised up to $6,000 a year,
Hmm.
and then so we looked around and we found it for 2,500, something like that.
Oh, very nice. And how about the retreat, Bob? I'm sure maybe that requires insurance and things like that.
You know what? I think it's covered under the fellowship's insurance, but
Oh,
you
that's good.
um, we've never actually thought about that. Actually,
Hmm.
that you bring it up, yeah. Um, so yeah. Anyway, that's good. So how are I thought they were getting on. What happened to them, Jay and Josh?
Let me try and contact them. Yeah, I'm not sure, Bob.
Because they popped up and then
Oh, they did. Okay.
yeah, they popped up, but then they're off, and I don't know. I didn't get the thing like accept them, whatever. And
Hmm.
hopefully I didn't click them off or something. All right. Well, what I wanted to do today was a little more. I was hoping that there would be someone else, maybe Valentina can jump in, but to practice this kind of dividing up and studying, a chapter. But homework to work on is the book of Ephesians. And I want you to go through this process with the book of Ephesians. So it's 5 chapters. Here's and hey Tina,
Hi, Bob. I got Paul here now. Hi,
good.
Isaiah.
Hi
Hi,
guys.
Tina. Hey, Paul.
So we're gonna have
Good to see you.
there you go. And so we're going to have everybody work on the book of Ephesians,
Okay.
and we'll give you a few weeks to work on that, right? So go through this process, all right? And what's the theme? And if you can find a theme verse, and what is the um, an outline, right? So, and survey the land. Who's he writing it to? Um, and what's the purpose of it? And every one of these things will keep growing over time, right? But um, but what's the main point, right? So what's the theme or the main point? If you had to say, oh yeah, here it is. This is what it's all about. Um, and then the next thing is, once you have the outline, now you can fill that in. And I will give you one heads up on the book of Ephesians is you're going to get lost in chapter 1. All right, so don't kill yourself over that, because it's one long sentence. Or, it's a very long sentence, but it's actually just one long sentence, and you have all these different things that are derived, and you go, oh yeah, I've got it, and then I don't have it, so don't get stuck on that first chapter. And you can, but you can come up even with a theme. So you can do this for each chapter, outline it, but see if you can get the broad outline, and then kind of like maybe a sub outline. And the other point is, when you're outlining it, don't outline every point, right? The purpose of this is to give you tags, so that you can, in your mind, go, okay, tag 1, Paul is, intro, tag 1, intro, and then maybe a line, all the saints, something like that, tag 2, and our purpose, tag 3, Jesus, all in all, tag, or you heard, tag 2, when you heard the gospel, tag 3, Jesus, everything, tag 4, um, uh, tag 4, our position, in Christ, tag 5, so it goes on and on, so see, work on that. Now, you're not allowed to, at this point, jump into somebody else's outline. Okay. And I'm thinking of sit, walk, stand. Okay. You're not allowed to use those 3 things. Even if you see that, we're going to throw that book away for right now. Okay. Because it's a great book, but that's Watchman Nee stuff, right? And we want to come at this fresh. All right. So maybe, if you came at it fresh, you would come up with sit, walk, stand, but you might come up with something different, and that's always hard because you have in your head, what somebody else has done. It's hard to get it out of there, right? But the Lord has something that he wants to say to you, Now later on, that's when you go to that, and so now the next thing is the burden and the feeling, right? And in that, there might be verses that are very powerful, that are maybe not the theme as much as something that, is powerful and catches you. His purpose is this, but, for example, like in Philippians, there's the line where forgetting, what's happened in the past, I press on to the future. That's very, very powerful. And if you're thinking of right? But that's not the theme of the book, right? But that's a powerful thing, and the feelings of it. Where was the author in his own heart on this? You know, what kind of feelings you have, and then you, the next thing is really where does the rest of the Bible correlate with this? Oh yeah, he said that this book, compare it to John and the way that John says it. Throw it out looking that. And the last thing is, what does this tell me about Jesus and his ways? You know, um, Now obviously these things are all going to be sort of happening at the same time. You know, but it's good to sort of break them out and come out that. So what's the result of all this? How does my life going to change? You know, and how is my teaching going to change? You know, what's what's the where do I not align with this? And what things am I excited about because I've now just grasped a precious word of God. So um, this process can get tough when you look at a book like Isaiah, which we're doing now, and it's kind of like, whoa, it's such a big thing. But as you take a couple chapters and you break it down, it's been really precious. Right. All right. So what I thought would we do today is chapter 14 of John. We're going to work through that. And so Tina, you're going to be, or Paul, which one wants to go? Which one do you want chapter 14 and who wants chapter 15?
Okay. Yeah, so sadly I must have had my wires crossed because I did an outline on chapter 13 and
Oh, okay.
and
Well,
I think I had Paul on 17. So
oh, okay.
that's yeah, we were the bookends.
All right. Well, if you have 13, we can do that again. Give us your quick summation. We did 13 last week because I couldn't remember who was doing what. And
Okay. All
we only
right.
had one person. So he got the,
Yeah. Well,
but
yeah, so John chapter 13 is just that precious chapter that I mean from an outline perspective, right? It was the Lord's Supper, and time was short at this point. So um, I think that Jesus was making some final statements and also some final examples to us. So he loved his own to the end. And in that first section, what really stood out to me was um, that Jesus knew who he was and where he was going. And it was that thing that gave him wings, like he could endure even death. And this gives us wings too. So I think this is just pivotal, right? Just knowing who we are and where we're going.
yes,
Everything here is just temporary. And then it moves into Jesus washing the disciples' feet. And of course, Peter, didn't want him to, right? But Jesus said, if I don't wash you, you have no part with me. And then Peter said, well, then just wash all of me. Um, and then Jesus said something interesting. He said, he who bathes need only to have his feet cleaned. And so, I mean, I know that there's just a whole lot that could be said about this, and I only have a shallow understanding, but what I believe is that when we are saved, we are cleaned. But this idea of washing your feet means like a daily relationship. It's just like, marriage or best friends or anything else. It's a daily I I did, I forgive you and please forgive me type of thing. So Jesus is looking for that as well, that daily relationship. And I just said this is about the cross, learning that cross. And then Jesus is the example because he, you know, he washed our feet, but he says wash one another's feet. And if you do this, you're going to be blessed. And then he said, I know the ones I have chosen. So again, just really precious in the light of we know who we are and where we're going is because he chose us. And and then interesting there as well is Jesus is telling his inner circle what will happen. So, and that will increase their faith, but it also increases our faith. And then this is interesting, and I just saw this today. But in verse 20, it says, truly, truly, I say to you, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. And I always thought that that meant, if you receive my disciples or, other believers. But this morning it occurred to me that I believe this is the Holy Spirit. Truly, truly, I say, he who receives whomever I send receives me, and he who receives me receives him who sent me. So there you see the triune God and us in that. So that's just beautiful. And then going on to Jesus's betrayal, it was from a friend, a disciple. And the fact is, the disciples missed the whole thing about that he was going to be betrayed. All that they were worried about was who did it, and please let it not be me. So, yeah, the fact is, Jesus was at this point distraught, but the disciples really were not on that wavelength. And then is that mysterious thing about God being glorified, right? It just is, Jesus just lived to please his Father all the way unto death. And then Jesus's final instructions was love one another, be known as my disciples. And he said, you can't come now, but you will follow later. What a wonderful promise. And basically the last line is, will you lay down your life for me? So that's what I had.
Hmm.
Sorry, it's probably a repeat of what you guys did last week, but
Oh, great. So what's the burden? What's the feeling in here?
um, I just think that feeling is here.
What's the feeling of Jesus?
Well, he's distraught. Time is running out, and he needs to communicate something really important.
And what's the feeling of Peter?
Well, he feels like he would follow the Lord unto death at that moment.
He wants all that Jesus has, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And how about the feeling of the around the table?
I mean, it seemed like it was intimate from the aspect of even s- going so far as Peter kind of whispering to John, "Hey, John, ask Jesus who it is," right? And then John leans in, and there's clearly that inner circle.
And so okay, so it's the inner circle, and they're all intimate.
Hmm.
Okay, but there's something else going on.
Well, of course, the betrayal, right?
Right, right. So they're all like, "Oh, this is so awesome," but there's somebody who doesn't belong here,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So there's suspicion, right?
Hmm.
It's not that perfect,
Yeah.
I mean, somebody here is going to betray Jesus. So here he is laying his life down, and it's wonderful having this intimate, we're breaking, but the most intimate, you know, time around the Lord's table. and he's laying his life down, and
Mhm.
he's saying, someone here is not here, you know, but
Yeah.
is at a different table, you know, and is planning destruction.
Mhm.
It will kill me. It
Mhm.
will kill me, you know.
Yeah.
And he washed his feet and he broke bread with them, you
Yeah.
know. So in this world, we'll have tribulation, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to be, um, there's going to be things that are really hard that are going to happen in the deepest part of our, fellowship life. And if you look at people in the testimony of people who've been with the Lord, over and over, you'll hear, I was sheep bit.
Mhm.
I heard this just the other day from patients, who a guy, and it kind of like ruined his life because he was sort of a lay pastor, and then this happened, that happened, and he was pushed out, and felt really betrayed. And that that has happened. That will happen. Especially the closer you get in close fellowship, the more the enemy is going to try and destroy that. You know,
Mhm.
but God is going to use it to accomplish something even greater. Yeah. Great. Well, Tina, that was awesome.
Yeah. All
All
right.
right,
Good.
Paul, you're up. Do 17.
Uh-huh.
Okay, mine won't be as lengthy as Tina's. I
Never is.
so so uh the theme, so as you know, as we look at the picture that begins probably in chapter 12, um uh and this whole chain of events, here we are in chapter 17, and the Lord is praying, um and it's got some big things. One is he talks about um the work that he's done glorifies God. So the theme is, that I would that in my opinion is this idea of glory. And it's not like the glory that we read about in Hebrews chapter 1, where it's that the brightness of his glory and that sort of thing, majestic stuff. It's more about, I think that the word used is it doxa, which is more about glorifying, kind of like um, the truth, of who God is, who Jesus is, and actually who we are, because he first prays in the first section of the chapter about glorifying God and his glory, and that he would be glorified in the finished work. And then the glorification of the disciples, and then in the third section it would be the glorification of those who would believe after the disciples. So, and it's all about, well, again, in my opinion, it is all about this, um, the Lord's convinced of that God the Father will have his way, the work will get done. Therefore, there's glory, um, for all involved, so to speak. I don't know if that's making any sense, but essentially, it is it's a prayer, for because I guess maybe it's a little difficult to explain. It's like, so I've glorified the Father, um so I glorify me, and so it's this process of the finishing the work, that the name of the Lord is glorified. So is that fair to say? I'm having difficulty putting it
Yeah.
in words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So if you use the kind of outline, you would kind of like what start off with, the glory of Jesus and the Father, and then,
right.
so you would kind of like then go, to the glory um, to be shared with the disciples, and then the third would be the glory to be shared with the world or with everyone
Well,
else.
those I think that the idea is those who would believe after the
Right,
disciple.
right.
So that's the reason why I
Yeah.
I feel, because he does mention about, so for instance in 13, the inference there is glorification because he has finished the work, right? But the work is not completely finished. He hasn't gone to the cross yet. So I feel like this glory, this doxa is uh, is tied to the finishing the assigned work. Do
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that the Father has his hand in that, and which is why the Lord is praying this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be kind of like my bootstrap, quick
Right.
thematic thing,
Mm-hmm.
so.
So what's the burden? Kind of what's his
Well, if you're asking,
what's his feeling? How does
yeah,
Jesus feel at this time?
yeah, so I think that this period of time, and I think I think that there's more than just a singular feeling. I think that there's anticipation. There's there's also, when I say anticipation of kind of returning to his glory, right? There's he's I think there's frustration because, like you said, there's excitement, like like that, in this, during this chain of events amongst the disciples. So I think maybe he's like, that they don't get it, yet. And then there's also this kind of, where um, yeah, he's not looking forward to the next few hours, so to speak. So all this stuff, but he's praying in such a way that is all about what the will of the Father is. Do you know what I mean? Am I
Mm-hmm.
making sense
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. I mean, but the feeling is, I think that, and I don't want to use the word hopeful. He is convinced of that the Father is going to have this, and he's praying in such a way for, I think, for the benefit of the disciples who probably don't understand at all what he's talking about. I mean, do you think, guys? Do you think that they understand this prayer?
I think it's amazing he was able even to record it.
Yeah, I know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, think about it.
I think that at the time they didn't get a whole lot, and Jesus said, "Don't worry about it, because the Spirit is going to bring it to remembrance."
Right.
You know, so that's how we have this detailed, is because the Spirit has been talking to John. He's an old guy right now, and
Yeah.
he's saying, you guys uh, just remembered him breaking bread, and said, "This is his body," right?
Right.
Don't you remember what he said, in that prayer? Well, no, we just remember him sweating drops of blood,
Mhm.
you know.
It
And so
is
that's
amazing that there is so much detail when this was so absolutely, this was a work of the Spirit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, hey
yeah,
John, you remember that prayer? It's like, well, something about glory. It's like, no, no, no. Here, I'm gonna repeat it. You write this down.
Yeah.
right.
This is a monumental prayer,
Yeah.
So Luke has, and obviously Luke has sources, right? He wasn't there, but
Right.
Luke says um, eh, something about, and you are those who were there with me in my trials, you know. And so that's kind of like sort of as close, some of the gospels at this time are talking about, who's the greatest,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so the framework is there. So this is where you're like, okay, how does this kind of compare, right, with the rest of the Bible? Oh, okay, so we have this idea, uh, but the one point uh, that his goal is, right, and it has to do, like, I know you just got it right with the glory, and the glory which you'd given me, I have given to them, that we may be one just as they may be one just as we are, you know. And so his the goal or the whole theme of this, is that the glory that Jesus has with the Father would be transmitted. It's going to be given to the saints.
Yeah.
The goal is that we would all be part of this,
Right. Yeah,
And so,
it's the inclusion of it,
Mhm.
which when you think about that, how magnanimous, or if that's the word,
Yeah.
this is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they really are, it's like, boy, he's got a lot of work to do, but wow,
Yeah.
this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
okay, give me in the Bible other places that get this point across that maybe are using a different illustration. That they may be one even as we are one.
Well, there's a thematically in Ephesians, there's that unity, it's like, it unifies the whole church, Jews and Gentiles alike. I don't know if that's what you mean.
Yeah, so what's the images that Paul uses about the unity of, God and the church and Jesus in the, right? Because this is the whole package.
Mhm. For I have died and my life is hidden with Christ in God. Col Colossians 3:3.
Okay,
Let
that's
me, John, guys, I have to get ready, so
oh,
excuse
okay.
me for a minute.
Time is it? Okay, time to go. All right, so I'll just give you a quick: the bride of Christ,
Mm.
the body of Christ, the house. You know,
Yeah.
uh, so those are all, and when you get into Revelation, it's the city. It's all he's in the center of the city. All that the city lights up with his glory.
Mm.
So we see in lots of different ways the same idea, only in a different angle. You know, God's burden. Okay. All right. So um, we'll do the other chapters in this section next week. If Josh and Jay are here, and then you'll be working on Ephesians, the book of Ephesians. So we really want to get down how we approach, so that it's becomes second nature
Mhm.
to do this and has a little bit of orderly. All right. So I want one verse in the book of Ephesians that summarizes the whole book. All right. So long.
All right. Love to all.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Tina. See you,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye.